it would be extremely challenging, or it could be challenging to change that. And then now your therapists are treating less patients because now you're less volume based, and now you're having people pay out of pocket, or you're billing their out of network insurance and they got to pay out of pocket first to hit their deductible, and then their copay drops to their cost per visit drops to their in-network copay. So it's very, very challenging.
Did you guys get a chance to watch the My First Million podcast that I shared with you?
I watched the first maybe 5-10 minutes.
Okay. So for anybody listening, anybody watching this morning, a recent My First Million podcast, not the most recent one, but I think it was 2 or 3 episodes ago, they talked about this. Now, the guy, and I'm not well familiar with it, but the kid, he's 17. He's talking, they're interviewing him, something on social media. I tried to find the original video and he was like, oh, I don't know, 6, 7. And then for whatever reason, this whole idea blows up. Like my kids start saying it. I hear about it months later. I'm like, what does it even mean? Like the kid's 6'7"? Like, I don't understand. Nobody understands, but there's no real meaning behind it. Just this kid said it. That clip went viral. He didn't even know when he said it. Later, somebody said, hey, that video's got like millions of views. And so long story short, it's a high school basketball player. He's 17. He says it. It goes viral. Then another guy says, hey, we should capitalize on this attention. They create a water brand. So the water brand, Jimmy, if you have the image, pop it up. The water brand is like liquid death. They're going for that. They're trying to figure out how do we take this from nothing to $100 million. In the My First Million podcast, they're interviewing the guy behind it, who's like a 50-something-year-old, but he's had multiple successful businesses and brands. And it just goes to show how, like, you just need that one, you could plant 1,000 seeds. One of them starts to grow and you double, triple, quadruple down on it. This is the can of 6, 7, which started from nothing. It's just some kid who was like, I don't know, we're going to 6, 7, like talking about how many points you're going to score or how was the game rated out of 10. I don't even know.
The funny part was, I heard people saying this and was like, all right, I'll be the old guy who goes online and Googles what the meaning of this is. I figured it meant the context that I was hearing it in. It felt like if you were to give something a score, like being very mid, like it's a 6, 7 at best, right? I've also heard when you Google it, you get a bunch of different answers though. Like I feel like it's so new and undefined that people are creating their own answers and nobody can find, the real one, even though the real one is sort of made up in the zeitgeist.
So I'm the youngest one here, but this morning I am the oldest because I have not heard this at all. I am totally out of the loop on this. And I always love to hear the things that maybe you guys find online, especially Tony, like just different things. I have not heard this at all. Let me reel Tony back in a little bit. Let me potentially reel him back in. I went on to 67water.com. It's asking me to join a wait list. Now, there's so much good stuff about online and things trending and things blowing up and people, their lives changing, their families, lives changing, their businesses changing, their employees, whatever it might be. I am never, you guys are never, and most folks are never going to join a wait list for some water can that may or may not ever exist. So as cool as it is, sometimes when these things happen, they can be flashes in the pan. Just like there was a big thing about Mr. Beast burgers or whatever, but like, I don't know if that, like, is he opening stores? Is that even still a thing? Or was that also a flash in the pan? So as much as I love and I agree to highlight these types of things that are on social media. Hey, how can we use these for our practices? How can we use this serendipity or this momentum or whatever? How can we use this attention in our physical therapy businesses and practices to help more patients, help our employees, help more patients? But yeah, I mean, I haven't heard this at all, but I'm not joining a wait list for a can of water or any type of company. I'll join a wait list for something Jimmy puts out. I'll join a wait list for something Tony puts out, but not a 6, 7 can of water.
So hang on, Jimmy, hang on. Here's the thing with that. And you're right, 100%. Like most of these, the Sasquatch videos, Bigfoot videos, like that is pretty much gone through its life cycle. They were talking about that stuff in this interview, and they said, look, we started this, we have no idea what it's going to do. We've got over 100,000 people that signed up for the email list. Their social media, I think it's Instagram, they compared like Fiji water, Dasani, all these other brands. They were like 10x more people that follows their social media just from putting this out there. The idea is most of these are going to die. This is probably going to disappear. There's no question about it. What we want to do is we want to say, okay, this was a flash. How can we put, $1 million in the bank account? Think of fidget spinners, think of Cabbage Patch Kids, think of Beanie Babies, all of those things. I don't care if it doesn't last. If I have that lightning right now, I want to capitalize on it right now. And these are the lessons we learn more from the failures than the successes.
I mean, Fiji water's been around for how long? Years?
A long time. Decades. Yeah.
So they own 151,000 followers in their real estate. Right?
Which would even follow that? Why would you follow
that? Is a great question. Why do you,
yes.
What Fiji water is, right? So do you need to see what Fiji water is doing? I'm wondering what they're doing. They're showing pictures of beautiful people on the beach drinking their water, right? But then you flip things over to 6-7 water, and how long have they been around? 10 minutes, and they're at 93. So they understand what I think one of the lessons we can learn is this is an attention game. They're saying we said a thing or we made a saying, we yelled Hawk Tua outside of a bar. How do we take attention and run with this? And I think if we were taking a lesson that Dave just shared, the only constant is change. So I understood I had one dimension when I was in radio, sound. And this is before websites really and social media, right? Sound, all I was. But what we figured out was we were this thing. And when something like the Budweiser frogs came around, we then figured out how to twist our thing to mock theirs. It was like a Saturday Night Live. It was like, how do we sort of parody off this to take some of that steam, that whatever's cool in the moment right now, and we can use that and put it in our sales. I think if that's the constant, if that's the thing that you take, which is, okay, I'm going to put my therapists in front of potential referral partners or patients. How do I do that? It better change all the time. Because whatever videos you're doing now or whatever attention you're trying to get now, it's going to age out. We know that. They're media, news, attention cycles. How do you stay new? Good artists borrow, great artists steal. Figure out what the cool thing in the moment. Mock it. Be the anti that, right? Say it's the dumbest thing. Mock it. That could be your spin on something. The only constant is change.
Yeah, my AI video of my patient saying a joke, it just hit 1.5 million views. But
wow.
What do I do with it? It's on Instagram. It got like 3,000 views on Facebook. It got less than that on YouTube. So the same thing. I'm like, I got one, but I didn't turn it into anything. I didn't do anything with it. And I don't even feel like if I make more videos like that, they're going to do as well. So I'm not even kind of wasting time trying to double down on that concept. But, when it does hit, I feel like we want to be prepared for it and we want to capture the value from it.
Let me show you a specific example. I'll be selfish here. This is Athelis's Instagram page. What do you notice?
The 300 something followers.
But no posts yet. Right? The idea is, and I'm guessing, right, because I'm not a part of the marketing, we don't know what we're going to say yet, because what are we going to do? Overproduced videos about EHR software or revenue cycle management? That's been done. You're going to over polish someone. I've worked with brands before and come in and they have Marvel quality videos. They're actually going in the other direction now, which is, I want videos that look like they were shot because they're real, because you're trying to blend in, you're trying to gain attention in an area where people, they're sort of that overproduce Marvel quality is overdone. Doing this for a brand is hard. Doing this for a 15-year-old kid who drops a funny phrase is simpler, right? How do you monetize and run with that? It's simple, not easy, because where's the hawk to a girl now? We called this, right? This was 8 months ago. She'll have her 15 minutes. I didn't see a crypto coin pumping up in the future. I figured a podcast was the way out, or I don't know, a t-shirt brand or a tube top brand or something. Didn't see a crypto coin in her future. But you can run with attention. Your 15 minutes of fame. Was that Warhol who said that? 15 minutes of fame? Or
Andy Warhol.
Everybody get their 15 minutes of fame. Well, now the revolution is televised. That 15 minutes can take you a lot further than it used to be able to.
But I agree. There's two different camps though. There's some that are like trying to create like a YouTube channel, or someone like this, like 6-7 water, and like they have a picture of a can, and most likely they have not even produced cans. They don't even have labels. It's all just digital imagery, and it's all just like a front end, but there's no business back end. The difference of what we bring to the table, especially Tony and I, is now, of course, it's in the real world, but we have actually like everlasting businesses that actually solve a solution. Maybe there's less of the, hockey stick type of growth. Like we're not going to grow to millions or tens of millions or hundreds of millions in the next 6 to 12 months. But we're also not going to go to zero in the next 6 to 12 months. You know what I mean? So like the difference of like these projects are great if you're an investor and you got folks out there that you can invest in and put money behind, and you get that attention and you try to put that attention in a certain place, whether it's Mr. Beast burgers or whatever, or it's this 6-7 water. But that's the difference. I think I got caught up with the whole tech thing and the apps and all that, and went into Vinicial and gave it a go and all that. But there was way more risk. There was way less certainty. And then what we do is like, we're solving a real solution. And how can we use the digital components of what we see out there? And I know that's why you guys bring this up, but these, like, to start a beverage company, you need a ton of money. Like Prime and all these other, newer beverage companies has taken a lot of money. So the fact that, the chance that this even can get legs off the ground, you'll need more. They will need more than all of this explosive growth in views and viral videos and all that, and how you guys are bringing it up on a podcast.
Right. So that is, in my opinion, why there's that thing called a wait list. Before they put $1 towards actually making the can, my opinion is someone's got a bag of money and says, get me 50,000 people on the wait list before you get your first $1. I'm not giving you $1. Listen, we've got machinery that'll put water in cans. We got graphic designers that can make the can. Take those 93,000 Instagram followers and turn them into 50,000 people on a wait list, because I know that might convert into 10,000 cans sold in the first month before you get $1. This is two sides of the same coin. It's attention, and then you build. Can you gain attention, then you build the product, or can you build a product that gains attention?
So going back to the My First Million podcast, the most interesting parts of this, to Dave's point, the guy behind the kid. I wish I could remember. He runs a basketball league. He said it's the second most popular basketball league behind the NBA. I don't know if it's college or one of these off brands or whatever.
The 3-on-3 league.
I don't know. If you said the name, I would know it, but he's the guy. So he said, look, how do we do this? What do we do with this? They were like, I don't want to do t-shirts. I don't want to do merch like that. What is a product or something we could put behind this that
Big
is
three?
a little bit?
Is it the big three?
No, it's not that. But anyway, so it's so interesting to hear these guys talking about the thought process, and they're literally in the middle of making this happen. Jimmy loves like building in public. That's kind of what these guys are doing. And so they were talking about, where do we sell this water once we get it produced? They found a distributor. They found a bottler, canner. They're like, let's go to gas stations. Every kid who's going to tournament basketball games is going through a gas station. They're going to see this. They're going to buy it just for the novelty of it. Let's start there.
So I think we also like jumped a step, right? Let's say you're a kid who has a phrase. Why'd they pick water? And I think we've mentioned this before, is we're seeing the consumption of alcohol go down over every generation. I even think we're seeing, and I don't have data to prove this, I even think we're seeing energy drink consumption going down. I think we're seeing it in a rise in paying attention to what you're actually drinking. I think we've reached zero. I think we've reached H2 and zero, right? We're looking at water right now where they're saying, okay, we can do that. I mean, liquid death is proof. Like they probably sat there and thought, shoot, did liquid death capture the market, right? The attention of that generation. The answer is always, of course, no. There's always room for another competitor. So even a step before, why did 6-7 jump to water? There's no connection there. I think they just said, seems like the simplest, most basic element of life, the most basic element of what they can put into someone's life.
I would push back and say they jump to a category that they think is cool. You could put a cool logo and brand on it. I've not done it, but I know I can assume that starting a beverage company is extremely challenging. The physical product to have not even including the distribution, but actually having the product that's actually whatever FDA approved or whatever, and have things, on the label and all that, and make it safe for consumers and not have it spoiled and not have it, crack open or whatever, and not even including the distribution, which of course they'll use the attention for the distribution, but actually just creating the first SKU of, I don't know, 10,000 cans or whatever, extremely challenging.
So that's probably why they're doing it in public, right? They wanted to find someone who wanted to do that quickly.
And on the podcast, he said, what's going to happen is this podcast is going to go out to hundreds of thousands of people, but there's probably going to be five people
that matter.
Yeah, somebody owns a string of 40 gas stations and they're going to say, I will buy 100,000 cans. Somebody is an expert in the beverage. Go ahead.
It was like, why did that one gas station person, why would the shelf stocker at Buc-ee's say, hell yeah? Because they're saying, I'll ride this for 15 minutes. You know what? We'll put this on top of a Buc-ee's. What's the biggest can ever created? We'll put it on top of a Buc-ee's. Like they understand, hey, how could I angle this? Keep going. So you got the gas station.
Yeah, so he said the gas station owner, you've got somebody who's an expert in the beverage business who's listening to the My First Million podcast. So this kind of flows into saying, okay, you've got the idea, it resonated with the community. Then you look at the distribution of the idea, not even the physical product, which is the My First Million podcast and the other stuff. This carries into, okay, how do we apply it to a PT? How do we apply it to clinical? I just did several review videos for a very lightweight 3-wheel walker. It's a rollator. I've got a handful of patients right now who are not strong enough to lift a standard rollator into the back of their car. And I'm like, I need something cheaper, or not cheaper. I need something lighter that's just as maneuverable, that has a seat. Right now, guys, go look. There's only one. It's a three-wheel rollator. It's got a canvas whatever seat, so it's super lightweight. It's about 11 pounds. You take the bag off, it's a little bit lighter. It's foldable, it's easy. I've got videos of these patients lifting it, putting it up on a plinth, so it's kind of at the level of an SUV. It marks all the requirements I need. And there's only one out there on the market. Nobody's promoting it. So that's where I kind of take an idea like this and I say, okay, I'm going to put out a couple of videos. One of those videos goes viral. I already reached out to the company and I said, hey, nobody else is talking about this. I genuinely believe it's a great product. I purchased the product. I'm under no obligation to say anything good. And now I have the opportunity to come in as the primary representative for that product. I could be the voice of that product, which is, ridiculously scalable when you look at the numbers of that specific walker selling on Amazon right now with no real influencer or promoter. So this is where I think the magic happens, is when you find the right product, the right timing, the right person to put their name behind that product. This is scalable, whereas one-on-one physical therapy is never going to be scalable to that level.
Makes sense. Love it.
I just joined the 6-7 water wait list. By the way, here even better, because I just want to see what they're going to do. By the way, it's not an email list. they
They ask you for a donation.
text message. And I've never seen this before. They gave me like their contact page, like, so I can save it in my phone. So when they text me later, it'll come up not as a generic five-digit number. So their logo is already embedded in that. That's pretty
Like
smart.
that.
I'm excited to see what they do with it, knowing that in 2 weeks it'll either be the biggest thing in the world or be nowhere.
I want to jump over to the Sarah Health graphics, the graphs, Tony.
Sarah Lyon is an OT. and
I thought it was Sarah Health. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, it's Sarah Lyon. She has OT potential. I asked her for permission to share these graphics. That she put these charts together. Jimmy's going to pull them up here in a minute. I'm sure everybody's seen them by now, but if not, it's basically a graphical representation of the decline. So this one is the decline in occupational therapy, like student applications. And we can just see it, plummeting. The other one, if you get a chance, and we'll talk about both these topics, this is a inflation adjusted representation of the declining reimbursement from Medicare for both OT and PT. So the most common CPT codes. And I did the same thing, so like you can go to your Medicare MAC website, you can pull up the fee schedule. In Ohio, it goes back to 2012. It was a 6% absolute reduction. So what I got paid in 2012 for 97110, I'm getting paid 6% less in 2024-25. But inflation adjusted, it's like a 34% decline, when you look at what that actual buying power is behind those numbers. And so, you can really see how impactful, like, how do you run a business selling the same product, trying, most of us, to sell a better product for 30%, 34% less income?
That costs us more to make.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Labor is more expensive.
I graduated almost right in the middle of this graph right there at 2016. So almost 10 years ago, you're looking at that. There was look at that little unicorn spike in 2018, 2019, and then they all fell off a cliff. But so you're looking from, what is that, 2002 to 2025.
2002.
So you're looking at 23 years, you're down 39, 37, and 36% respectively in therapeutic activities, self-care management, and therapeutic exercise. Is there another industry that this comes close to? Is there any parallel that you can think of, another industry that is reducing they're down almost 40%?
So I'm going to say there's a lot. The difference is like, you look at technology, the phone I would have bought in 2002, compared to the phone that I can buy today for the price I'm paying today, I get a whole lot more value. And this has always been like a frustration of mine, is I can legitimately treat a Medicare beneficiary following a rotator cuff repair, a knee replacement, a stroke, a brain injury. I can treat them and deliver the outcome for less cost. I am more efficient. I do a better job. We have more research and more examples. We just refuse to do it. That's the problem. We fundamentally refuse to put efficiency into what we do, because we're not doing it for the outcome. We're doing it because we want to have fun in the process. We want to do all this fancy stuff. We want to do all this inefficient stuff. We want to make things as complicated as we can. And we want the third party to pay us a premium rate because we want to do it the way we want to do it. The reality is we could do it far more efficiently. It's just not as fun. And therapists don't get the same joy and satisfaction.
Do you guys know if car accident claims are similar at this point? Like, are all the auto bodies that go through, Geico and all that, like, do they experience the same thing? Like Geico and all these other car insurances have the leverage, the power
to pay less on a claim, you mean? Like, are they paying 40, are they paying less if you get the same accident 10, 20 years ago, you mean?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably. Maybe.
We'll have to research it.
So there's two graphs maybe on purpose. So do you think that this graph is a direct result of this graph? Essentially what I'm saying is, for the podcast, is if you're looking at, hey, if we're getting paid or reimbursed, I should say, 39, 37, and 36% less on three popular codes, is that why between 2016 and 2023, this is occupational therapy program applications are down 45%? And I'm assuming PT is probably close.
Right. Yeah, I think it is. I think there's less opportunity on the horizon. Young people, we already said, are paying more for school. You know, it used to be like a no-brainer. Like, go back to when it was a bachelor's degree. Everybody is going to get injured. There's going to be this huge silver tsunami of boomers who are going to need services. I'm guaranteed a job. Like, the reality is, many of us said, I'm going to become a therapist because I love what I do, and I'm guaranteed a job because there's always going to be somebody who needs my services. What we didn't account for was the price control coming in from Medicare and other third-party payers. So now the system is designed, incentivized to decrease the quality, because you don't get paid more for innovation. You don't get paid more for better outcomes. I always share this example. Dave and I could both be Medicare providers. Dave could do an amazing job. I could make my patients worse. My patient could come in, hate coming to see me, quit in 3 visits, leave worse than they started. Dave could be an amazing therapist. He is an amazing therapist. He could do 40 visits because Dave never stopped seeing ways for his patient to improve. The problem is, when Medicare looks at the average between my 3 visits and Dave's 40 visits, Dave looks like he's overutilizing services. Dave gets audited. Medicare says, Tony got him discharged in 3. Why are you taking 40? We're not going to pay you for the additional, whatever, 15 or 20. We'll pay you for a few. We're not going to pay you for all. And then Dave loses all of that money. Like, the system is designed to disincentivize patients getting better, disincentivize Dave putting more money and time into research, into innovation, into buying equipment. You just can't operate in that. So you have to leave this system. Like, they're forcing you out the door. Or, which Dave has talked about, you go to hospital route. You charge facility fees, you do all the other stuff, you make it a loss leader so that it doesn't matter if you're losing money on paying the PT, because you're going to make your money somewhere else.
You got to, like Jimmy likes to always say, you kind of got to know like what game you're playing. And so there's a ton of, how many outpatient physical therapy practices are in the country? It's like 10,000 or 30,000 like brick and mortar locations.
I would say
and it's
the numbers I've seen are closer to 30 or 40,000 private practices.
So, and that's still the majority using this whole system. The system maybe had better margins before, and a lot of these bigger players just have continued to stay in the same system as things have kind of changed over time, and they don't have the negotiating power. They don't have the leverage. And I agree. Like, that's the beauty of, like, when I go to sleep at night, I can sleep well and easy because we don't have chargebacks. We have patients' credit cards on file, and like, if they want to keep using us, great. It's like, it's a simple business. If we do well, if they like the experience, they want to keep going, they keep paying. If they don't, they drop off, they decide they want to stop, that's totally up to them. And so it makes things very, very simple. Yeah, just knowing what business you're in.
Yeah, I mean, I got my haircut yesterday because I really needed it. But also, you look at that, there are several haircut places that have opened in my tiny little town over the last couple of years. And I'm like, how's that work? Well, everybody's got hair, needs to get done. And I know for a fact that the men's and women's hair places have raised their prices. And people just say, well, yeah, stuff's more expensive and I still want my hair to look good, so I pay it. You could grow it out. You could do it yourself. You could go to Supercuts, and people do. Water finds its level. It is not the same thing. It's not the same argument, because there's someone in the middle in healthcare saying, well, I dictate what you get, if anything, in this particular condition. What seemed like probably a good idea, wasn't it Nixon who introduced third party and Kaiser Permanente and this whole third party payment model? Wasn't it? I could do the research, but it doesn't really matter. But It exists now. It's existed my entire existence. What probably seemed like a great idea at the time, it was for those in power, and it still is for those who have who have the money in the bank first.
Reagan, not Nixon. Reagan.
Sorry.
I shared a post in my Facebook group, and it was a little tongue in cheek. And, a lot of the new members don't know me and don't know my position. So I basically said something along the lines of, when you're evaluating a new Medicare beneficiary and the patient, how do you say to the patient says, my goal is I want to travel, I want to garden, I want to get back to pickleball. How do you have the conversation to say, well, that's great, but unfortunately those things aren't covered. This is how much it's going to cost. And the majority of names that I didn't recognize, which tells me they're newer members in the group, were like, oh, you can always find ways to justify, and they want to go play pickleball. You talk about, walking on uneven surfaces. And I'm like, no, you guys, this is why we're never going to move away from the reimbursement and the declining reimbursement, because you will do everything in your power to take money away, take money out of your pocket, to sacrifice your family's financial well-being just to deliver the service that you want to deliver, regardless of what Medicare is buying, regardless of what they're paying for. And so this verbal, gymnastics to say, oh, we're not talking about traveling through Europe, which if you're traveling through Europe, you have enough money to pay for the therapy you need. Amen, we're talking about traveling through the living room to the kitchen so I can get, feed myself. No, as soon as that patient says, I want to, and then there's something on the end of that statement that is recreation, leisure, hobby, community, any of these things, it's not a covered service. And so yesterday I shared a follow-up to that, and I haven't looked at the comments, but I'm like, there's a Timex and a Rolex. Both of them keep track of time. Both of them are durable. Both of them are great watches. Nobody's going to sell a Timex for the price of a Rolex, and nobody is going to sell a Rolex for the price of a Timex. And that's what we are doing. We are sacrificing decades of education and experience for minimum wage. Why? Because we want to do it, not because it's the right thing to do.
And to switch in mid-career or any point in a career, especially as a practice owner, is very, very challenging. When I stepped away from patient care, yes, it's like, oh, there's a little less cash coming. There's a little less cash net hitting my bank account because I'm no longer producing some amount of the revenue, right? So I had to figure out, okay, how do I make this work, and how much more productive do I need to make my therapist? And I had to work on all this other stuff with marketing and relationships and referrals and now the videos and all that type of stuff. So to change and to get out of patient care, or to change and go from in-network to out-of-network, or from Medicare to self-pay, and have those conversations, very, very challenging. And many practice owners, I think, Tony, you might agree, like all the folks that you have, I think you've said before, like they call in, they want to use their insurance. They're looking to use their insurance. Now, of course, you find ways that are compliant and legal and all that to treat them, and you do great work. But across the country, a lot of these in-network individual patients that have in-network or Medicare, they have been indoctrinated to like, all the physical therapy practices are going to take it regardless of their demands, their wishes. Hey, I can walk 2 blocks. I want to be able to walk 5 blocks. And most practices will bill Medicare or the in-network insurance for that. And they'll say, oh, maybe they'll document in the note, oh, they have pain and disability or impairment with dressing, cooking, hygiene, personal hygiene, whatever. So the challenge is going away from that whole model, potentially having to find new patients that will actually pay out of pocket, that will have better margins so you can pay your therapist better, you can stay alive as a practice, grow better. Those are the challenges that the practice owner doesn't want to confront. Most practice owners do not want to confront it. They don't want to deal with that. It would be extremely challenging, or it could be challenging to change that. And then now your therapists are treating less patients because now you're less volume based, and now you're having people pay out of pocket, or you're billing their out-of-network insurance and they got to pay out of pocket first to hit their deductible, and then their copay drops to their cost per visit drops to their in-network copay. So it's very, very challenging for any practice owner to do this 5-10 years into their business life, or even further down the line, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I mean, I'm not saying I'm smart, but I saw this and said, I don't want to be playing this game 3 years into my PT career. I remember looking around and I just probably condensed, because I was a second career student, I condensed the rage and frustration of what you guys are talking about here. I didn't understand it all. I just felt the emotion. So I condensed a career's worth into my first 2 or 3 years. And I literally just threw my hands up, as to Seth Godin calls it, the dip. And I was like, no, I will not succeed in this game. I will not. I'll burn out. I did ask ChatGPT to do some information for us. According to PTCAS, APTA PTCAS official reports, these are the number of applications between 2016, when I graduated 10 years ago, close to it, and today. We're looking at a big dip in 2022 with less than 17,000 applications. Again, this is PTCAS data through ChatGPT. I am citing that there, but you are seeing a downward trend from 19,000 to about 17.5 in 2023.
Why did you guys become PTs?
Everything we just said. Well, my origin story was I saw this thing, a smartphone, and did the math. I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. Media and communications are going to be revolutionized. I looked at the medium I was in and said, you're not moving at all. I gave it 2 or 3 years. I ran around. I worked for one of the biggest radio companies in the country. We had like 600, 700 radio stations. And I had some leverage. Like I ran a couple of different stations in one market. And I was like, how do we use this? How do we use this? I had some success doing campaigns similar to 6-7 with text messaging. Can I touch someone directly and the speed and measure it and all those different things? I then watched radio say this is not, they looked at an iceberg and were like, it's not an issue. We're just going to bump into that. It's not going to hit us. And I said, I'm out. And then everything Tony just said, people are going to continue to get hurt. This feels like a rewarding endeavor. There's going to be job security. I almost did it to please my parents because I could say to them, I'm leaving radio. And they were fine with me being in radio, but they were always like, what is this? They didn't understand it. How long is it going to last? When I said PT, you watch their shoulders drop. They were like, this is great. This is a very good thing. He's, as long as you get into school and you pass. And then fast forward, while I was doing it, I found all those frustrations, and I'm an emotional kind of guy. I knew I wasn't going to change them. I looked to change again.
Dave, what about you?
Yeah. What about you? What's your origin story?
The question was why I became a PT.
Yeah.
There was like an intersection of like, did well in the sciences, school guidance counselor was like, you should probably go into something in the sciences, and then looking at different schools in the Northeast region, different majors, what had the best upside, what had the best growth prospects. Of course, they didn't mention anything about the health insurance and the squeeze that the insurance companies would have on the profession. None of that was mentioned, of course.
The funny part is, have you met like guidance counselors? God bless them. They're it's a best guess. Like they had no AI, they had brochures, they had meetings and webinars. Probably best guess. Like best guess. Almost, if you're gonna math it, whatever the most guidance counselors are saying, just say that's going to be oversaturated. Go somewhere else. Like where are they saying it's going to be a little bit open? Like that. Like, I mean, remember prompt engineering 8 months ago? That was going to be the biggest major ever. That's not even a thing, right? It's not going to be a thing.
Yeah, I mean, the guidance counselors, I guess it's better than nothing, but they spend, what, 5 or 10 minutes with you, potentially your entire life, or maybe 5 or 10 minutes per year, maybe, right? So
look at a snapshot.
Yeah, they're looking at a snapshot. I mean, the guidance counselor also didn't know that I was like bringing in my parents like old magazines, like ESPN magazine and Sports Illustrated and stuff like that, and selling it in the hallways. Like they didn't know how entrepreneurial I was. They didn't ask questions. They didn't know I had side hustles and little things that I was doing. My parents did, but at the same time, like they want they want their child, like most parents, they want their child to do better and be better or do more than them anyway. And so with the program that I ended up choosing, it was like I could play D2 baseball, I could get a bachelor's and a DPT degree all in 6 years, got some money for baseball, some scholarship money, and like that was it. Like that was one of all those things, in a bag, shake it up, and that was the reason why.
You made the best decision with the situation and the information in front of you, and that is all you can do. Tony, what's your origin story here?
While I share it, why don't you think about the next topic? Basically, it was one of those deals where, I didn't know what a physical therapist was. My mom had developed frozen shoulder. She was a type 2 diabetic. I think I don't even know if I was in undergrad. Maybe I was. I think I just finished undergrad. And, so I was like, oh, therapy is cool, but I want to be a strength coach. So I was a strength coach for a few years. We started the business. I recruited a physical therapist. She came on board. I was not a physical therapist, but I saw that all of my adult clients needed physical therapy. They needed the knowledge and the skill of a physical therapist. So I recruited her. She's now my wife. She convinced me. She was like, therapists are very suspicious of non-therapists. If you want to grow this business, you have to get those letters after your name. That's it. I went to school to bill insurance. That's why I went to school. I believe I could have gotten all of the knowledge, all of the experience, all of the practical application from treating clients, from researching on my own, doing those things. The only thing I got from the program was the ability to bill insurance. And now, fast forward.
Now it's a bad thing.
Well, that's the thing. Yeah. What used to be the gravy train now is the whatever. I don't want to get too political. So now I'm looking at it and I'm like, okay, I've got this knowledge. I've got this skill set. I've got this understanding. Dave has said it many times. The most valuable thing is, if nothing else, I understand my own body. I understand my kids. I understand how to take care of myself. But how can I package what I want to deliver to the consumer in a way that is appealing to them? It is still profitable for me to do what I do and bill insurance. But that's because I am not over delivering. I am delivering what the insurance is buying. And I'm delivering what the consumer ultimately wants. I am not trying to pretend that I've got all of this OCS and excessive education behind me. I don't. I don't have fancy products. I don't have fancy equipment. I have very low cost everything. And I came into this business 25 years ago. You can't do what I do today as a new business owner because I have an advantage of 25 years that you're never going to have, except in 25 years.
So it doesn't have to be the next topic. It could be this topic. If you had a room full of 30 high school juniors or seniors in front of you, would you suggest this as a profession to go into?
I still would, though. I still would.
Okay.
Now you got because you got to evaluate your alternatives, and we can dive into it further. But in terms of alternatives, it's not always the grass is always green on the other side. But we'll get into it.
It always starts with, what is your goal? What is your objective? Yeah. I agree with the guys like Mike Rowe who are follow your passion. That's the stupidest thing in the world. Dave plays baseball, but he's not trying to be an MLB player. He enjoys it. That's a passion of his. Go where the money is. Do what you need to do for a job. Take care of your family. Take care of yourself. Be an adult. Grow up. And then if you want to do the other stuff on the side, go ahead and enjoy yourself. So I would say, why do you want to do this? If you want to own a business, you don't need to be a therapist to own a business. There's plenty of non-therapy owned therapy businesses. If you want the knowledge and skills, but you're going to monetize it in a different way, do it. If you want to go work for a hospital, go do that. Those are all good reasons to become a PT. But don't just think, that it's a stable job. I'm going to get 5% raises every year and I'm going to have benefits. And there are probably better options out there than that.
Well, thanks so much, Tony, for showing up 12 years ago and telling me that.
Historically, and even still in New York City, you always hear families and older adults that they could be in their 50s, 60s, whatever. They've kind of conditioned their children about these union jobs. This is just one example. Whether it's sanitation, being a subway conductor. Like there's all these things like, and I work with some guys, even the challenging ones, like the cops and the firefighters and all that. But whether it's sanitation or it's other union jobs, like the plumbing, pipe fitting, whatever, all these jobs that are like, they're working overnights, they're working on holidays, they have to do certain amount of hours. They're doing 10, 12, sometimes longer hours. And what they always say, and friends that I even play baseball with, like they'll say like, yeah, like it's great because you get all these benefits and this pension, all that. It's like, but we're treating patients, we're making impact and helping people, actually walk again, move again, play baseball again, whatever. Like we're having great direct impact with other folks in our communities. And then there's other folks that have made other decisions. They went other paths, and they're talking about like the pension and the thing at the end, but they typically, not always, but many of them hate what they do. And it's like, it's just crazy. Like you could go a million different directions, but yes, I would absolutely still recommend it. You could go self-pay, you could go out of network, you could use our skill set. We've talked about it so many times on the show, your skill set of understanding, triaging patients, helping them with, sleep and health and wellness and hygiene, all that type of stuff. So there's so many things that we can do that allows an individual professional that does physical therapy, whether PT, PTA, whatever, or all the other therapies, to have so much more enjoyment and actually help empower other folks. And there's other folks out there that just like, they're doing something, but they hate it. And they also can't leave. They can't leave. And they're probably looking at physical therapy like, oh, that's got to be a sweet gig.
It is. It is. Like you said, I don't do weekends. I don't do late nights. I don't do holidays. Like I've got a very easy life, and I'll take the sacrifice of having more money to the being able to spend the time I want with my kids, waking up with them in the morning, packing their lunch, like making sure they get off. I just dropped my kids off at school and then came here, hang out with you guys for an hour, and then I'll go in there and I'll do a couple evaluations and treat a couple patients. The lifestyle comes at a price. I'm willing to pay that price still at this time in my life.
Pick your suck. There's hard stuff on everything, right? I mean, people looked at me when I worked at a radio station, like, how could you complain? I was okay with working nights and weekends and doing different things because of the upsides. It wasn't money, but it was the other upsides, right? Oh my gosh, it must be awesome to go to all these big concerts. Yes. For every awesome concert I went to 35 ones that I didn't want to have to be at, but I was okay with that. I did the math on that, and I was okay with the trade-off. I was watching this series of videos about a guy who is a craftsman, and he learned to be a woodworker in Japan 30 years ago. And he had some interesting insights. In Japan, they don't teach by speaking. You learn by watching. You want to be a woodworker? Sit. I'm going to now woodwork for 8, 10, 12 hours. You will watch. You're allowed to ask questions at lunch, and when the day is over, that's it. And then he said 2 or 3 days into me just watching, he said this was super bizarre, like coming from an American education. 2 to 3 days in, the guy just said work, and he got up and left. Now he was supposed to now repeat and do what that guy was doing. And he came back after 6 hours, took the stuff he had produced and put into 2 piles, good and bad. And he said to the bad pile, fix it. Didn't tell him what to fix or how to fix it. This feels Mike Rowe-ish, which is like, if you hate that, if after the end of a month you hate that, good. Don't do it. But we over-educated, right? You would have started in a didactic webinar, watching an on-ramp, and you wouldn't have any idea if you liked it or not. Immersion, right? Like I started by accident going to get classes, going to pass classes. Now I have a target. I have, like what Dave just said, I have an end. I've got to get to the end. I've got to get A's in all these classes instead of go sit in a clinic, just watch. That should have been first. It was like 13th. People should probably do that first.
Absolutely. Yep.
And I think we've agreed, like, hands down, anybody who is an exercise tech or an aide working in an outpatient clinic before they went into PT school, like heads and shoulders above everybody else. I know I've got a couple of young people right now, not at my clinic, but at local clinics. And it's just, you cannot do better than to go get a job or even volunteer and do something like that. Whether, like, I think most of us have had this experience. When I was a tech, I was treating patients. I was doing everything. Like, patients were asking to see me, or you're in a place where you're just getting, cleaning up and putting equipment away. Bottom line is there's no replacement for something like that. To me, school is still just a barrier to get to where we want to be. We just got to get through the school, get through the curriculum. I think it needs to be revamped. It's not going to be revamped, but just get over it and get out there and really like find the people that you like and want to mentor under. I had amazing professionals in front of me that I did what Jimmy said. I just sat there and watched. I watched these guys, how they prescribed exercise, how they came up with plans of care, how they analyzed, okay, this is a quick story and then we can wrap it. Yesterday, I had a returning patient. I've seen this patient multiple times. An engineer mindset. And you guys know what these people are like, right? Very particular, this is the way it is, very rigid. And so this particular engineer comes back and he's like, hey, this is what's going on. I've got this pain. It's a low back issue. The doc wants to do injections at L3 and L4. I told the doc, I'm an engineer. I understand how these things work. You are not going to inject multiple levels. We're going to figure out what the problem is. You're going to do one level. And I was like, I get it. I can empathize with your mindset because I am like that too. And if we were doing a clinical study and trying to figure out what's causing the problem, let's change one variable at a time. However, you just told me you want to go to South Africa with your wife. You want to do all of these things. You're not trying to run a clinical study to determine what is causing the symptoms you're dealing with. You want to feel better. Just go freaking shoot everything up. Like if I was in your boat, I'd be like, dude, hit every level that the insurance will pay for and let me go enjoy my life, And so that's a perspective I think we can deliver. I can't make them better. We talked about the arthritic changes are there. They're not going to go away. We're going to manage the symptoms. We're going to make you stronger and healthier and feel better. But I'm like, we can deliver a perspective to the patient that nobody else seems to deliver. I think that is the unique value of going to see a physical therapist. The only reason why I could do that is because I've seen better therapists than me over the years, and I've listened to them and I've observed them and I've watched them. It's not because of what I learned in school.
Yeah. And that's why I had success in my previous profession is the people that I learned from, either bosses or colleagues. It was watching what someone did, and I guess being open enough to listen to it and actually take that advice. And also, if you not take a few of those pieces of advice as well.
The challenge is, Tony, as you know, you have to go through the schooling to even get out into that experience to do the shadowing. Now, of course, you can do some shadowing early. You could be undergrad. You could be in high school or work as an aide and kind of do the shadowing. But in general, you kind of have to like go through all that schooling, and then you get to work with other colleagues and be immersed in the whole physical therapy world or whatever the profession might be. So,
all right, guys, parting shots. I'm gonna say, you're going to be sharing ideas, sharing concepts, creating videos, photos. Oh, okay. Here's my parting shot. I just started realizing how powerful photos, images are on my Facebook business feed. They too are monetized. They're monetized at a CPM rate that's comparable to a video. So what I'm doing, and I'll share the results next week with anybody who's interested, I'm taking screenshots of like the best parts within the video. I put that screenshot into ChatGPT. I tell it to generate a Facebook post for this image, and then I share the image as a still photo with the ChatGPT post. They're doing awesome. Like tens of thousands of views just on these photos. I didn't even realize that was something that people were still interested in.
Jimmy, I think you're muted.
It's a pendulum, right? There's only several ways to share media, right? And the pendulum swings, and video is going to be prioritized, and then something else, and then words again. I mean, it goes round and round.
Parting shot will be a question back to Tony and Jimmy about the images versus videos. Maybe we'll catch this and we'll cover it on the next episode. But my immediate gut response of that the videos or the pictures are doing well on Tony's Facebook feed is because maybe the photos are getting more engagement than the videos, because the videos, someone's not going to thumbs it up unless they're kind of watching a little bit more into the video. Whereas an image, you see an image in some business page, you see it right away, you like it or you don't like it, and you're more likely to maybe thumbs it up or engage with it, thumb it, like it, love it, whatever, comment. So that'll just be my parting shot as a question for you guys. Maybe we'll cover more about pictures versus videos in the coming weeks.
I would say the advice from that guy who went and learned to be a woodworker in Japan, which is be quiet, watch, think. You don't have to question everything externally. You can question things internally and then decide, is this the kind of problem I want to be solving for the next year, 10 years, 20 years? Then do that.
Hey, it's Dave Kittle. Are you a healthcare business owner or physical therapy practice owner who is looking to figure out your succession plan or exit strategy? We might be able to help. And in fact, we may be interested in acquiring your practice. If you're interested, you can reach out to me. Shoot me an email at dave@conciergepainrelief.com. That's DAVE at CONCIERGE, painrelief.com. Or you can call me at any time, 646-781-8884.